the topic is the number of the beast, the mark of the beast. I was watching a program on telly, and it was saying that what they think the mark of the beast is. And just going back a quick step in history, and I want to show how easy it is just to talk about it and understand it, because in the religious world it's a big topic, the mark of the beast. And so...
Having the chip in your hand.
Yeah, they're talking about having it on your wrist or on your forehead. Yeah, that's where you had to have the mark in the last days. And going back into history, there's a whole group of people now that are pushing it into the Christian realm, that we have to go back to the days of the temple and the tabernacle, where they used to do Sabbath and 10 Commandments, the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, and they're pushing the Old Covenant ways into the rest of the religious realm to say that that's what we should be doing today. Of course, we don't agree with that. Yahusha came and fulfilled it all and gave us new commands, the 2 royal commands. So that's what we should be living by, not by the 10 Commandments. So that's quickly and easily. That belongs to history. It's the history of man's sin from Adam up to now. And we know, we talked about the wormhole, which is the vein, and the wormhole sucking all of those traditions and behaviours. It's sucking it into the vein. Everything has to come to the vein, because that's the end of the story. Adam and Eve is the beginning of the story, and Revelation is the end of the story. So everything's being, in these last days, drawn into the vein. Everything comes to the vein. That's Yahusha's plan. He said, follow me through the narrow gate. Enter in at the narrow gate. So we realise it's a spiritual gate. We all go in to get the baptism of the Spirit and the fire. And that's a cleansing, and that's where we find deliverance. Yahusha will deliver us from our sin. That's the good news. That's the true gospel. That's what we should be talking about. So all that history that's being drawn into the vein is sort of irrelevant at the moment. It's good to know, it's the knowledge, it's the history, but what people need to know is deliverance. That's what Yahusha came for, to deliver everybody from their sin, their wickedness, their unhealthiness. And he's done it through his word and his blood. So that's what's available for people if they want to get out of them what they know is really unpleasant in them. They can't get rid of their thoughts. They're guilty. They're feeling all sorts of dreadful feelings. As you grow up, the seed, the corrupt seed in you, tears you down, makes you weak. You don't enjoy life. You go through all sorts of horrible things. And there you are, stuck with your reputation of the things that you've said and done. There are people that don't like you, people that do, and it's really hard on everybody because they don't know the truth about the real gospel of deliverance. So, that's just a quick background. Now we're looking at what these religious people pushing the Sabbath. They teach that doing the Sabbath is a sign on your forehead. That's the mark of Yahusha, they say. When the angels come to take us at the end, if you've been doing the Sabbath, you'll have the mark of Yahusha on your forehead. If you haven't been, you'll have 666. And the sheep and the goats, you know, they get thrown in the fire and the others get put in the barn, which is heaven. You know, so all that's going on at the moment. Now, they're actually teaching that if you don't do Sabbath, you're not going to have Yahusha's mark on your forehead. Now, we find that totally, completely, absolutely ridiculous.
Totally.
Yes.
Yep.
So I said to Victoria, watching this program, so if the Sabbath isn't the mark of the beast, isn't the mark of Yahusha, what is the mark of the beast? And she said to me, yeah, the mark of the beast is the spirit in your flesh. She said that's a sign of your behaviour. So I thought, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
I agree with that.
You know? Yeah. But now we see what they're actually pushing globally through religion, that you all have to go back and do the Sabbath. Why don't we do the Sabbath anymore, Mark?
We don't do the literal seventh-day Sabbath anymore because it was a shadow to teach people what the real rest is about. And the rest, the Sabbath that he taught them when they came out of Egypt, he taught them through the manna that they had to rest every seventh day. And then they were taught that the promised land was going to be a land of rest, a time of rest. It was all about rest. But then Paul said, most of you people, I fear you're not going to make it. I fear you're not going to experience this rest. He was talking to Hebrews, and he was talking in the promised land, and he was talking to people who were already doing the Sabbath day. And he said, you're not going to experience this rest, I fear. So it can't be those things. It's a shadow of, we know it's a shadow of the rest that we can feel inside him and the rest that's coming, the eternal rest. So that's why I don't do it literally, because it's like all the other feasts and instructions. They have to be interpreted behaviourally in us today. And I think it's a huge entrapment to take people back into that.
Yeah.
Because it signifies something so much greater. You can just, as we were for 10 years, resting on the Sabbath day, and your behaviour is just, there's still a spirit in my flesh controlling me, doing whatever I want to do in my religious behaviour. But I still did Sabbath, you know. So in that way, you're just like a Jew.
What do you think about the brainwashing and the fear that they present? If you don't do Sabbath, it's a great sin, and you will.
Oh, you won't make it.
Yeah.
You won't.
You'll have the mark of the beast on your forehead.
Yeah.
Now, that's like the Catholics teaching school kids with fear.
Fear.
When you look at historically, all that was done, it's the truth. And it's lots of great things written in the Old Testament, and they're great to learn and to know. But, you know, Yahusha came and fulfilled all of that old teaching and gave us a new covenant, new teaching.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to take us back to the old covenant and live that for today. So if we listen to them and go back to the old times and do Sabbath and believe that the temple system is right for us for today, are we losing something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think we're losing?
You're losing Yahusha. You're going backwards instead of going forwards in history, because it was all pointing to him. It was all breadcrumbs to point to him. Every little thing. And as you said, every part of the older scriptures is just fascinating and wonderful, and we read it and love it. But when we read it, we go, oh, we don't have to build a temple. We are the temple. We don't have to kill animals. We are the sacrifices. It's all... The little key to interpreting all the scripture is it's all behaviour. So when you read something, okay, Sabbath, how does that affect my behaviour? Yeah.
But going back, where's it going to lead us?
To death.
Dead. It's a dead carcass.
It's a dead carcass.
So every time you hear about Yahusha, he's shining.
Yeah.
When Satan stands next to him, does he shine like that?
No.
It's just dull.
So Satan is trying to stop everybody on earth to know the qualities. What are the qualities of Yahusha? You've just been through them.
Loving, kind, gracious, humble.
Fruits of.
All the fruits of righteousness.
So he behaves that. And what does that do to Satan?
Furious.
Freaks him out.
Reveals
What he is.
his
His
behaviour.
character.
Because Satan knows when people find out who he really is, they will instantaneously worship Yahusha. Right? So he's working at everyone worshipping him. Satan wants everyone to worship him through self-worship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he's going to come and say, no, I am.
Yeah.
So it's very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anyone to know the qualities, the behaviour, the happiness, the joy, the love. He doesn't want anyone to know that that's there for him and that he has the power to deliver them from Satan. And we have to have this deliverance, this crossover message out there so people can see how glorious and wonderful Yahusha really is. And everybody puts themselves in the place of wanting worship from others rather than give it to Yahusha. They put themselves there to have the power to block him off so that he's not being revealed. How would you feel if you were Yahusha and you created all this and you're seeing an angel lower than you are without the power that you have, deceiving everybody, and they're believing the deceiver and worshipping the deceiver instead of the truth? How would you feel if you were Yahusha?
Oh,
Furious.
I'd be devastated, but he's not.
you'd want to go and shake them and wake them up and tell them, you're being ripped off.
Well, you can't shake a corrupted seed out of a person because it's in them.
Yeah.
So what's another way to reach people?
Through the love.
The behaviour's got to be shining. They've got to see. It's not about the scriptures, the words, all that's been done in every religion. Words. People have to see the qualities you're talking about. Yahusha's qualities have to be showing in a person, in a behaviour. Yeah. And
That's his plan.
Well, that's the thing. If the behaviour's not right, then you're basically not showing them
But the behaviour he gave is a
choice.
Yeah.
and only those that choose it will be shining.
Yeah.
That go all the way. But to get that message out to a world that's numb in the mind, but he's chosen the ones he wants. He's really only interested in that.
Yeah.
And if we're there to help that happen, we can partake of that. Servitude, serving him. But isn't it awful what's really going on?
Yeah, I think it's the spirit in our flesh that has has to die.
Well, that's what you said.
Yeah, because that takes in all the behaviour.
So obviously the sign is the spirit in the flesh dominating the person, controlling their temple.
Yeah.
That's the mark of the beast.
Absolutely.
Because it's Satan. It's Satan that corrupts seed in us. That's where it started, and Yahusha came to finish it, to relieve everyone.